full length video today and I'll be moving tomorrow. I'll be driving like 16 hours or something like that. So trying to get this out for you guys because I know you guys need that technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia for the week ahead. And we're going to go over, this chart here with the SPY. We're going to go over a monthly because you can see how far out of that monthly risk range we are. That's these yellow lines here. We have a 68% chance to land back within those. And you'll notice we are way out of it at this point. And so we want to pay attention to two things, okay? Does this actually sell off into the end of the month and come back down and end within this zone? Or do we actually see this continue to push and just keep squeezing and give us that, Christmas rally? And the reason that I'm paying attention to this at this point is because we haven't seen that pullback. And therefore, in order to be healthy, you would like to see some pullback and then see that explosion. Because if we do come and set up some kind of, point up in here that's actually considered a lower high, then we're going to continue to be a little bit bearish at that point. But right now, I'm pretty bullish, okay? If we do get that pullback, I'm pretty bullish into the end of the year. But we do have two scenarios where if we keep going higher, we could set up that lower high pretty early, like sometime in December. But if we actually pull back from this area, we can see this high get tested and taken out and possibly even go set up some kind of monthly divergence, giving us a new all-time high. Now in this video, we do have the updated ranges, okay? The weekly range for the week ahead for the Qs and the SPY, okay? So that's all we have on this video for now. And you'll notice when we do react from these ranges, I just want to talk about them for a sec. Last week was about where the bottom is this week, okay? This coming week, this was about the top of last week. And we actually gap above it, which is very important because these can be used as resistances. Sure, they're like a magnet. We're attracted to these areas, right? Because that's what options have priced in. But when we do gap above them, we can use them as support to go higher. And so for the bullish and bearish cases at this point, what you want to pay attention to is to the upside. You notice that the Bollinger Band has a little bit more room here, and that's right around our weekly range where we would start to test the top of that. And that weekly range actually goes into right around this gap fill back from August 1st. Okay, so that's what we want to pay attention to the bull side. The bear side you're looking for, if we get a small pullback and then keep going, you want to pay attention to this little gap fill right here, right? So we want to pay attention to that, to the bear side, but we also want to pay attention to a more dramatic drop because 68% of the time we do land back in this monthly zone here. So we want to pay attention to a more dramatic drop. And the overall level that I'm mainly paying attention to is this gap fill at 430, 431 right in there, okay? Because it's in confluence with just a lot of buying. You have a little bit of support right above it. You have this support right down here at this point that I'm looking at right here. So there is potential for us to hold up in that area. Now you do have the potential for a more dramatic drop down into this gap down here right around that 422. Okay, and that would be in confluence with some support in here. So we want to pay attention to those two levels at this point. But because we are in positive territory and we're pretty well within positive territory, just pretty overbought at this point, you want to pay attention to the MACD. If we do see a curl down wherever it lands, if you see that curl back and you get that confirmation on the MACD, you are still going to be in positive territory, and this might just be some kind of big ABC pattern into the end of the year. The Qs, you'll notice we do have those weekly ranges and we have nothing really to test, but because the SPY is sitting right around that gap fill, right? The top side of its weekly is actually right around that gap fill. I'm going to be paying attention to the bull side to the top of this weekly range here. So if we get outside of that pretty early on in the week, we will pay attention to it. I'll mention it in my next video. But for now, you'll notice that if we do go down, we're actually sitting right around some gap fills down here, okay? So we want to pay attention to that. To the downside if we make a move early on, but you do have that 68% chance to see a dramatic drop and see some levels get tested. And I'm really on the Qs. I think they could see a little more dramatic drop, okay, because we do have Nvidia earnings or something like that, so there's potential for it. This 357 level, that gap fill right in there is something I'm paying attention to, but it might take us some time to close like around that area at the end of the month. But still, what you want to pay attention to is the same thing as the SPY. Whether this thing comes down to here or down to here, you want to see that curl back up, okay? And once that curls back up, you'll see this MACD cross in positive territory, and that is a very, very bullish signal into the end of the year. So even though the bearish case is, yeah, we're going to maybe see some dramatic drop, it's still a little bit bullish because it's saying, hey, at that point, we might turn around and see that ABC pattern play out. Now, I believe the hourly is very important, and we didn't go over this on the SPY, but it's pretty similar to the Qs, okay? That's why we're going to do both at the same time here, and you'll notice that even though we have this divergence here. The MACD is still in positive territory, and we were able to move sideways, which gives us some room to go higher and set up another point of divergence, and that could be at that weekly range. Okay, so that's really why I'm paying attention to this. If this MACD curls up and gives us another point of divergence, I'm still going to be looking for that trend to then go negative in order to start that negative trend. And the same thing is showing on the SPY. Okay, I just wanted to let you know. Now, Apple's something we're paying very close attention to this week for a few reasons. And it's because right now we are in this zone here, this gap fill, gap resistance zone, which we have seen dramatic selling from a few times. Okay, so we really want to pay attention here. And you'll notice something about these daily bars. Look at these daily bars. They look so wonky and weird, which means that we're just trickling higher, and sellers are trying to step in at this point. We're getting a lot of random reversal bars all within a row. So that's very interesting. And the last thing that was very interesting on the daily here, we actually didn't go fill this gap. We did not fill this gap, okay? So we want to go fill this gap. Possibly that is some unfinished business, and we can see that filled on Monday or Tuesday. So we really want to pay attention to that, but you can see how there's not a lot of room to the upside with this Bollinger Band. There's a lot of room to the downside. So the bullish side here, I would say filling that gap, maybe going a little bit higher. The bearish side here is we could see, some kind of drop to one of these moving averages, right, to see some support step in, maybe around that 181, 182 level, right off the 20. And then after that, I'll pay attention to the 50. And if I'm paying attention to the 50, I'm really looking at this purple zone, because we've launched off the top of this a couple times, right? We launched off with this. So if we do see a dramatic drop, maybe we treat this like a trampoline and we actually see an ABC pattern into the end of the year if we get a touch of that purple zone. The hourly here, you can see we're getting very, very close on the MACD to that center line, okay? So I'm really paying attention to that. We're getting closer and closer with every single divergence, okay? So this is something I go over in the course, just how important this center line is to start that negative trend. You notice we did go sideways, so there is potential for us to make a little bit move higher, set up another point of divergence down here on the MACD, and then we just really want to pay attention if this starts that negative trend. It's very important to look at most of these tech stocks just because we do have Nvidia earnings and they have a very big range, okay? So this is the range on Amazon from last week, and we were just pointing out how it acts like a magnet and acts like resistance, it acts like support. So we go up to it, we sell off, it uses resistance, we go down to the bottom of it, we buy up, so then we use it as support. So that's just something these ranges can help you with. But the fact that we actually took out this high is a very good sign, and I believe that any kind of sell-off from this area will be met up with some buyers, okay? So we really want to pay attention to that in the near future, and weirdly enough, looking at this this is something I'm thinking of for the first time. If we do go a little bit higher, maybe we set up this weird left head and a right shoulder at some point. I just kind of came up with that on the spot. I'll look into that a little bit more in some videos for the future, but right now you can see that we actually bought ourselves some time on Amazon, so those Bollinger Bands have a little bit of room. We could make another point higher at this point. So I am paying attention to the weekly range on Amazon, which is down in the description if you want to get it as well. So we want to pay attention to, that weekly range, if we come up into this area right up in here, or whether or not we're able to see this break down by the first part of the week, we're really going to pay attention to that. I'm not really paying attention to this gap. That is very, very low. We'd have to see some very, very dramatic selling, but I am looking at this point right here. This point right here of about 128, okay, can be a gray area for stocks to hold up. It's in confluence with some liquidity in here, but because this is a strong move, we need 2 points. So I'm paying attention to this high right here. Could be acting as some support. I'm actually going to go a little bit lower. I think right here, this 133 could be a good point. And then if you're looking for another point a little lower, that 128, 127 could be some good area to pay attention to. And all you're looking for in that area with any kind of drop is for this MACD to curl back over, right? So if we see some sell-off, which would make the market a little healthier at this point, and then we see that curl back up, it will be in positive territory, and you might be looking for some kind of big A, B, C, oh, that was bad, A, B, C pattern start to play out. Amazon is very, very close to that center line. Look down here at this MACD. We can see how close to that center line the MACD actually is. And what we want to pay attention to with that is just, are we actually going to see this make another point of divergence, come and test this high, maybe break it a little bit, and then we start to see dramatic selling? We do have a shortened trading week, so we might not see too much action, but because we have Nvidia earnings, a lot of these stocks are very important to pay attention to, okay? Now, just notice here on the hourly how close we are to that center line. And that's why right now I'm saying, hey, this trend can go negative very, very quickly. So if we do see this low start to get taken out, that would mean that a new trend is starting. We're in negative territory, a negative trend has actually begun. Now, Tesla here, you had that divergence between these lows. You have your head and shoulders setting up. You have this ABC pattern playing out. This full measured move of that head and shoulders actually did play out, and we got a retest, okay? So once we got this retest, we were just saying, hey, we could see some kind of sell-off, and we did. We got back within those Bollinger Bands, and you'll notice to the upside here as we pull up like an hourly or something like that, you'll notice that we are able to remain in positive territory, meaning there is potential here for us to go test this high. So I really want to pay attention to that, see if we're able to curl up in that positive territory and set up some kind of divergence, maybe getting another test, breaking that high by a little bit. That's what I would pay attention to, the bull side of things. And the bear side, I'm overall going to pay attention to some kind of ABC pattern playing out. If this ABC pattern is able to play out, you'll notice this point of about 222, but I would say 222 to 215, anywhere in this type of area can really act like support at this point, and we could see that higher low setup. So what you'll want to pay attention to is if we do get some kind of sudden roll down, or maybe it's a little bit wonkier, right? And then we're able to curl back into positive territory. That's what I'm paying attention to on Tesla. Now, Nvidia has earnings, so we're really going to pay attention to that, okay? Nvidia has earnings. We moved sideways for a little bit, so you do have a little room to the upside, but I can tell you that this one has the biggest weekly range. I believe it's like 9% up or 9% down in 1 week, which is only 4 days of a week, right? Because we have Thanksgiving. So we really want to pay attention to this. And you could see, you know, this end up here. We could see it actually end up down here. So we really want to pay attention to this stock. And I would just say this. We caught this move, right? We had a 2-hour divergence here. We had a daily divergence behind it. It's a very strong move. So if you did get a position in here and you're still holding at this point, like really, what are you gaining from holding at this point, right? So before earnings can be very wonky. You don't know what data is going to come out. So it just means be a little cautious. And that's how I do things. So I do not have a position in Nvidia anymore because earnings can send me down 10%, right? So I don't want to get caught in anything like that. So I'm pumping the brakes, and that's overall, you know, what we want to pay attention to. But I just wanted to say, it doesn't mean that we can't get a good move and go higher, right? We can go higher, but that Bollinger Band's right there. You're going to take out a previous high and selling could step in. So we want to pull up an hourly and just show you what this looks like. And overall, we were just saying how this little, I would say little sell-off here, notice on the MACD, it got us closer to that center line. So if we do get some kind of pop, we could see that just test this high. We could see it go a little bit above it, and then we would set up another point of divergence. And if this is able to turn down, then it will be a negative territory. And I believe that negative trend will begin. Yields here, you're getting a little bit of an indecision, maybe reversal candle here right around that previous high that we actually, you know, crossed right around here to cause some turmoil in the market. So we want to pay attention to that. Pretty much what I'm starting to think here is we do have FOMC minutes. So we're going to go over data at the very end of this video. But we have FOMC minutes, we have Nvidia earnings and things like that. So we could see a pop in the 10-year yield. And as we look at TLT, you're going to see a few more reasons why we could. And you'll notice that if you see here, we're getting really tight. So some kind of explosive move could happen this week. And we really want to pay attention to this because of FOMC minutes. Okay, so FOMC minutes, they've been trying to sound a little bit hawkish while being bullish, is what I would say, right? They're bullish. They're saying, or dovish, I guess, right? They're saying we probably don't need to raise rates, but we will. So it's like, it's a little bit confusing, but as long as the data comes out, the market will see that as good. Maybe they're doubling down this week with the minutes, and then we see some kind of pop in these yields, but those are maybe. So we want to pay attention and react after we get that information. We don't want to guess before. So right now you are seeing this, really weird price action, which just tells me I don't think these bond traders know exactly where these yields are supposed to go. At this point, they're saying like, we need to drop now, but half of them are saying like, oh, maybe we need to, go back down. And then half of them are saying maybe we need to go up. So it's just a little confusing at this point, and I believe there's some confusion, but you can see on the hourly how close we are to starting a negative trend. So if anything bad comes out this week, if the FOMC minutes comes out bad this week, you'll notice we're very, very close to that center line on TLT, which means those yields have the opportunity to start a positive trend. TLT has the potential to start a negative trend. I'm expecting some kind of bigger move out of TLT this week, just because the price action is getting so tight at this point. So we really want to pay attention to that data, but you do have divergence across the board and you're very close to that center line. Now the VIX on the daily, back here we were saying if we start to close below that 200 and the 50 at the same time, yes, we can see a huge bullish run. It would be much healthier for the market to get another move upward, you know, or for the VIX to make another move upward to scare some people out of the market before that bull run. But it looks like they just keep getting bullish. It's bullish, it's bullish, it's bullish, and that can keep happening as long as we remain below the 200 and the 50 at the same time. So what I'm saying to look out for here is some kind of move above 50 and the 200, the 50 and the 200 at the same time, and we close above both of those. We can see this start to get above 20, and I believe we'll wick out at that point and possibly come down, right? Come down pretty quick and get that big move into the end of the year. Now, what I wanted to also point out with the VIX here is the VVIX. You'll notice the VIX is actually trailing down and down. The VVIX is actually holding level at this point. So I will be paying attention to the VVIX and see if we get some kind of, you know, green bar here while the VIX actually gives us a red bar, and we can pay attention to that signal, and I'll let you know if that happens in my daily videos. Very important thing about Monday is you do get this 20-year bond auction. I believe at 1 p.m. that's going to be pretty important, but the most important day is going to be Tuesday because you get FOMC minutes and Nvidia earnings kind of at the same time. So we really want to pay attention to that. FOMC could come out and say, hey, if we see some bad data, then we're going to raise these rates. And then the next day you get durable goods, and that's supposed to come down pretty dang negative, okay? That we're expecting that to come down pretty dang negative. So if for some reason they say, if the data, you know, shows that we're going to raise rates, and then the next day some data shows, hey, maybe we need to raise rates, we can see some selling step in. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying be ready to react and really, you know, pay attention to the numbers that come out, pay attention to the words that are used in the FOMC minutes. Now, after that, we will have a bunch of, you know, crude oil and bill auctions and things like that on Wednesday, but we really want to pay attention to, you know, having a good time on Thursday, right? We want to pay attention to having a good time on Thursday. You can see how up and up we are. So I'm just saying it's a time to be a little cautious, and you don't want to have, you know, some kind of thing on your holiday that's making you feel terrible. So if you are green and you're in a good position, right? And you're saying, hey, I've made enough money at this point, you know, maybe be looking for your next trade because you don't want to be in a negative mood on a holiday. I've done it before and it's no fun. So the overall takeaway here is we are seeing some potential upside. Okay, we actually are seeing a little bit of potential upside, but we have a lot more potential to go down from this point. Now, it doesn't mean we have to. It just means that at this point, we really need to pay attention to the data. The data at times when we get bullish with data and things like that, technicals can go outside the window, right? They're going to be thrown out. So we really want to pay attention to that data and then react based on it, okay? But we are seeing that bearishness start to come in with those wonky bars on Apple. We're seeing a lot of those hourly divergences. We just need those to start some kind of negative trend, and we do get Nvidia and the FOMC minutes and a piece of data the next day after that that could shake up this market. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it as I am moving and you guys are still coming in and liking, subscribing, all that stuff. So I really, really appreciate it. It's a very, very busy month for me. So I thank you guys for the well wishes in my move and everything like that. I got to go drive about 16 hours here in a day or so. But I really hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving this week. I'm still going to try to put out videos every single day. I hope you guys have a great, great Thanksgiving and all the luck in the world trading this week. All right. Peace.